work session to order. And if we can all rise for our moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Bill, would you lead us in the pledge?
Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for showing up. I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. Chairman Cameron is down with the flu, and Coach Bradley is similarly kind of bedridden, I believe. So with that said, do we have any public input?
No public input, is it?
No public input.
We do have recognitions.
Yes.
Recognitions. Come on up, Peter. We've got Russ Strong here. Ben's going to talk about them and bring them up.
So, I'll be brief. I'm going to introduce some of our elementary cross-country team. We've had a long history of strong cross-country teams at Russ Strong, and a few years ago we began fielding an elementary team, and this year all of the middle school teams combined. And so we were worried about what that meant for elementary. We had a parent step up, and then it turned into multiple parents step up and kind of take over that program. And I'm going to invite Ms. Hannah Martin up here. She took over as coach this year. We had 21 on the team this year.
Yes.
So 21 third, fourth, and fifth graders. Of that 21, 16 qualified for the state meet. And then from the state meet, 5 qualified for nationals and went and ran in the national meet in Kentucky. So I'm going to let Coach Martin introduce our runners, and then we'll take some pictures.
Yes, so I'm Hannah. I wasn't really a runner, I'm just a mom. My little boy said, "Mom, please coach us, or I can't go to state again." So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And I never ever thought in a million years I would take 16 to state. Definitely didn't think I'd take 5 to nationals. So I've got 3 third graders. Alice, come down here real quick. So I had 3 third graders. So this is Alice Martin. This is Max Leonard and Miles Taylor. So these were our third graders. And then we had Miss Emily Dacus. She's a 4th grader, and her big brother went, Eli Dacus, and he's actually been before, so he was kind of seasoned and showed us all the ropes. But I'm super proud of them, and thank you all for having us here. They've worked hard.
Slide over. Miss Gwen's going to snap a picture. And some mamas. Good. All right. Congratulations. Thank you all. You all think you can follow the floor.
Thank you. That's great. First year in state and nationals. That's hard to do. Okay, we'll move on. We've established there's no public input tonight. So we'll move on to items for information. In your packet, you'll see the monthly financial report. The monthly district enrollment is not, it'll resume on the 26th because of the Christmas vacation. Monthly policy review will be second readings on policies that pass first readings at the next business meeting. Monthly threat assessments. I do have one question on that, Dr. Arnold. Where do we stand as far as the threat assessments this year versus where we were last year? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, I can, get that information and send it to you.
Okay.
In a comparison.
Yeah. Could we possibly in the future get that comparison to see how we're doing year to year?
Do we have that?
I just have a year total.
Did they change? We did quarterly last year, we do quarterly this year. This is the first time we do monthly reports to the board.
Right.
So it'll be different.
Well, then don't.
But yeah, we can check on that. We can see what we got. We can definitely, those quarterly reports, we can give you, breakdown of last
Okay.
year and this year.
Great, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Arnold on the Talbot and Jefferson Elementary School projects updates.
And I just wanted to remind you on the monthly policy review, so those are policies, there's about, I'm guessing, 20 of them that's listed. That's just policies that, in order for us to review all the policies in one current year, we just send a recommendation of,
Right.
it's 2.100 through 2.900, just for,
Right.
I look at them, and if there's anything that is up or, any issues with them, then, we give a recommendation to the policy committee, so that we can review them all every year. Talbot Elementary, I was on site there today for a little bit. As you can imagine, since I last sent you some information in, middle of January, not a lot has changed. Middle of December, not a lot has changed over the 3-week holiday period. So they are there, finishing some concrete work this week, and, I would imagine in the next, by the end of this month, we'll have some steel put in, and they are pretty much still on schedule. We've got some floors poured, walls are poured, so it's been a good time for concrete there at Talbot, and that's kind of the stage they're in right now, pouring concrete, and then they'll be setting some steel. We've done some mock-ups of brickwork there at Talbot, found a good match. I don't think they're working on the mortar joints, trying to get those to match up with that blend of mixture, so we're looking at that. And then at Jefferson Elementary School, we were on site today with a mechanical service group, and they spent somewhere around 5 hours there at the school going through all the mechanical systems, looking at what the options would be of what we replace, where we are able to add things, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, the sprinkler system that'll be added. So I've talked to you about that project. We hope to be able to bid that out as far as a separate package of abatement versus the construction, so that things can be abated in the summer. And based on the timeline that I'm giving you in the past of, a May, Blankenship gave us a May completion of the construction documents. So then it has to go to bid, then the bid has to be awarded, then contracts have to be issued. So there's no way that we can start construction in the summer. But with a separate bid package, we'll be able to abate an area of 8 or 9 classrooms, have that ready to go.
Well, as I understand it, we can't start construction until abatement takes place anyway.
That is correct. Yes. So I know that there's a lot of, even whenever we started that roofing project in the fall, there was some people that had called you and said, you know, why are they not starting on Jefferson Elementary? You know, there's just no way to be able, it's such a, you know, even the mechanical people that are there today are scratching their heads trying to figure out exactly what we're looking at on some of those systems and things. So it's a very detailed, very systematic, you know, have to do wings at a time. We'll have somewhere around 600 people in the building while we're renovating. So there'll have to be stages of abatement, stages of construction, and also one thing that's different at Jefferson that was not at Piedmont is the amount of plumbing and electrical that has to happen. So, you know, you can't just cut electricity, cut plumbing while you're having school. So that phasing really is taking a lot of time and communication between the architect, between the mechanical group that Blankenship has brought in, between Curtis with Skanska, really pushing that separate package of abatement versus construction. So just like at Piedmont, it was all included in the package. The same contractor did the abatement work also. So this would, I don't know how it will materialize, but in order to be on schedule, abatement will have to happen during the summer, and construction will have to begin later.
Any questions? Ms. Hart?
Are we basically still on a scheduled timeline like we were previous on? Are we falling behind?
For Jefferson,
Yes.
last Blankenship gave us was a May completion of documents, which means somewhere around in May we will bid it out. Where once he completes the documents, then we have to advertise the bid. On something like that, we usually like to advertise at a minimum of 3 weeks, maybe 4, to be able to, people have to crunch a lot of numbers to be able to produce a bid. So you're looking at a 4-week bid process. There'll be a lot of contractors want to walk through that building, maybe multiple times. So there'll be a mandatory walkthrough, and then once the bid happens, then we will have to look at those bids, make sure they're all in place through central office, through finance, make sure all ducks are in a row. And then once we award that bid, then there's contract negotiations with the construction company. If you remember, the last, I was trying to think, those, I have to go through the school board attorney who represents you, and then through the county attorney, through county commission statute, they require that also. So it has to go through a lot of levels to get approved. So it takes time.
Any other questions? Oops. Any other questions? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Director of Schools contract.
So I was able to place that in there. I was able to meet with some of you. It's not too late. Have some availability this week too, if somebody wasn't able to meet, wants to meet. Whether that's in person, by phone, whatever. If you have anything that you want to go over. So basically, I was able to communicate with Josh some, and then with the board attorney, and able to give you the contract as approved by the board attorney, and give you that kind of timeline of how it happened. the changes between the current contract and the proposed contract. And, that just helps you to understand those changes that occurred. Other than that, I know there was one question. So, right now my contract runs through 2028. And what this would do is replace that current contract and extend it 4 years to 2030. So it would begin July 1, 2026 and run through June 30th, 2030.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Hart?
So I know that there's I believe it's a 3% inflation adjustment per year. In the 5-year plan, do we do that
Yes.
with teachers
Yes.
as well? Does that cover all the employees or just teachers?
I believe it covers pretty much all the employees, all full-time employees.
So currently in the 5-year plan, it talks about hourly employees at 3%. Because teachers were on the plan to, the governor's initiative to get beginning pay to $50,000 by this upcoming school year, 2026-27. So teacher raises were above 3%. So that wasn't an issue whenever
That's right.
whenever we went over the board's 5-year plan. But in our last meeting, we discussed adding teachers to that 3% since that runs out this year for the governor's initiative. And then we don't know, there'll be a new governor coming in, and we don't know what that plan may be. So the board's plan is to strive for a 3% raise for all employees every year. You know, back in, I guess that was 2009, 10, 11, we had recessions. You know, it couldn't happen. There wasn't money available. So there was other things that occurred, and we delivered that message then. But going forward, as long as there is money available and we can fit it within the budget, that's the board's initiative.
And I think that will be reinforced. I looked at the MOU that we're, is in the packet. I don't know that we're going to discuss that tonight, but that's reinforced by a 3% provision in the PECA MOU.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Do you have any issue or concern or changes in the contract?
I do not. I talked to several board members. Josh was along the email chain with Mr. Bennett, and we were able to work through any issues. So I don't have any concerns.
You're happy?
Yes.
Any other comments? I would like to say I had a pretty in-depth meeting with Dr. Arnold about some questions I had. And after that meeting, I'm convinced that this is a fair, equitable contract, that it puts us on par and makes us competitive, although not overly competitive, but competitive with other East Tennessee school districts. And that the one thing that I asked to be put in there, because I see this as kind of a template going forward that we're going to be using, was some kind of a provision in there that if any future school board director decides to retire, that they give us at least 7 months advance notice, so we're not caught flat-footed. We can find somebody. That is in here. The way it reads is fine with me, so just from my own point of view, I have no problem with this contract. Any other comments? Okay. Moving forward. Moving forward. The JC Schools website.
I know you talked a little about that, brought that up at a meeting.
Right. We discussed this at the, we did have our yearly 5-year comprehensive plan meeting to review where we are, as if which goals we're meeting and which ones we're not meeting, and where we are and where we want to go. And I think the website issue will be addressed when we talk about the communications coordinator. So if nobody has any other questions about the website, I think we can move on. Are there any other questions? Okay, we'll just go ahead and move on. The PECA MOU is in your packet. I think we need to have pretty much all of our board here when this is discussed and described. So you have it. I would suggest that you read it before our next voting meeting, and that we'll discuss it more at that point. Are there any problems with that, or any questions or comments? Okay.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Are there any changes, excuse me, are there any changes from the previous MOU?
That's probably something we should ask when we discuss it at the business meeting. I don't really know, because I was not on the PECA committee. And Coach who is not here, so to speak to that, I really don't know, unless somebody else who is on the committee.
Yeah, no board members were on the committee.
Right. Not this year.
Not this year,
Right.
no board members were on there. So there are some slight changes. I know that Christy Watkey and Troy worked together. You know, if you wanted any input there, they're welcome. You know, Troy could rattle off those changes for you quickly if you want to. It's up to you all.
Right here tonight?
Yes, would you like to speak?
I would.
Why don't you come on up to the mic and push the button and get a green light on there.
Sure.
Just introduce yourself.
All right. My name's Troy Pulliam, and I'm a social studies teacher at the high school. I also serve on the PECA team, representing teachers. And I came prepared tonight to kind of answer any questions you might have, but also give you some background. And I do have some prepared stuff here that kind of gets into what's different, what's new about it. If you
Well, I mean,
Continue.
would everybody like to hear?
I would.
Okay, no objections. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So really, I'm coming here tonight really encouraging you to adopt it. And you've all been presented with it there, and I hope you get time here soon to really dive into it and look at what's in there, but also compare it to the one the board approved that is current, the present MOU. That expires the end of next month. So we would kind of like to move these along so there's no lapse between the two MOUs. March 1st would be that deadline. But anyway, this is written through an interest-based collaborative process between what the law calls professional employees and management. And the management team is board appointed. The educator team is chosen by educators. And so we started back in March on these revisions of this current proposed MOU, and just concluded last month in December. And so what the law states on this is the PECA process is a 3-year committee. That committee can do a lot of other things than run an MOU. Basically, the law says it can meet to, and I quote, confer, consult, discuss, and exchange information, opinions, and proposals in a non-adversarial manner. And that's what the law requires. And the committee can also write a memorandum of understanding to present to you all. And when you vote for it, it goes into effect like our current. So that itself has a separate 3-year term, which, as I mentioned, the current is expiring next month. So we began this conferencing process by polling educators to see what was on their minds, to see what things we should aim at. And the law does restrain us to certain very specific categories. So salary and wages, insurance, working conditions, fringe benefits, leave, and I think I pretty much covered it there. But those are the main areas you'll see in this proposed MOU. Looks very much like the last one. We cleaned up some things. We smoothed out some things to make them work better. So, for instance, it clarifies and simplifies items approved in the current MOU, like bereavement leave, which, thanks to you all as well, some of the things we have in here, you all have actually, from our conferring, have taken in the last year and changed into a policy as well. So you'll see a lot of alignment. The sick leave exit option, for instance, bereavement leave. Some of these things came from our conferring, but also came, you all adopted those things already in your own policy. And teacher discipline procedures, we had support plans that got more identified, more defined, more clearly laid out. There's language on the working day and planning time with clarity and expectations between the administration and teachers, and based in the law and also board policy. And it also institutes an initiative on teacher appreciation, recognition, which takes work already underway and kind of spells that out and makes a commitment to that in the MOU going forward for the next 3 years. And the main goal, the mission statement, the main purpose you'll find at the very beginning of the document is we seek to attract and retain teachers. And when we first began, I guess it was 21, coming out of the pandemic, there was so much staffing problems, and that was the main goal. It's still the main goal of this MOU, the proposal. And we know that when you can keep teachers in the classrooms with students every day, every year, you're going to see great gains from that. You're going to see a great working environment. It's what is best for students. And we did have a set of standards for how we were going to collaborate. And we had a list of standards, and that list was, is this thing we are talking about, putting in the MOU, is it going to be in the best interest of students? Also, is it legal? Is it feasible? Is it affordable? Can it be done, in other words? And we looked at that with every single item that you find in that MOU. And between the two sides, we discussed whether these things could be done, and we decided these 5 standards were met. So I also want to include that there. And of course, if you can attract and retain teachers, give them incentives as well, through benefits, through like the sick leave exit option, it's kind of an attendance incentive in many ways. You are making a better place for students to learn, but also a better place for teachers to work. See if I've covered my main points I really want to say. I know we can't compete on pay with some of our neighboring districts. They're much better funded than we are. But we do, I think, in this county pretty well on certain benefits that you can make up for something that are very attractive, like insurance. And this board has for 30, maybe 40 years, maintained a very good attraction and retention policy with health insurance. And I want to thank you all for that as well, and continue to maintain that. We are one of the few districts that can offer that and does offer that. So thank you for that. It's a highly attractive thing for a teacher to look at. And also, there's other benefits too, but that's a very powerful one. It lets them know that you're really trying to do what you do there. When we finished, we had a facilitator working with us, came in from outside. I don't know if you might know Dr. Rodney Russell at Carson Union. He's a professor and a dean. He's also a provost there, and he's done a lot of these facilitations. And I'll quote you what he wrote to us in an email when we were done. He said, "I have not seen a better MOU or better working relationship between the board, the superintendent, the managers, and the professional educators." He said, "Jefferson County should be proud and thankful." I couldn't agree more. It was a fairly collegial and smooth process getting this done. And I just wanted to share his take on that as someone who's a third party outside who's done many of these processes. And he thought it was the best he had seen. So, again, I highly recommend to you all to vote on this maybe Thursday. Just a suggestion. But certainly before March 1st. And otherwise, any questions?
Yeah, any questions, comments?
Answer.
Thank you. You will be here for the business meeting, because as I say, a couple board members are missing, and I'd like them to hear kind of what you have to say or be able to ask whatever questions come up.
Yes, sir.
Great.
I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next on our agenda is the efficiency study audit. If I could kind of take the floor on this one. As you, you know, I come from the private business sector. And in the private business sector, virtually every corporation I've ever worked for, all right, at least every 7 years, has an independent firm come in and review, pretty much review the operation from soup to nuts. It's kind of like getting a second opinion, you know, if you have a health issue. That, from what in my conversations with Dr. Arnold, after we discussed his contract, I asked if that had ever been done here, and he said not to his knowledge. Is that
Not that I'm aware of, no,
Right.
not to that extent.
all right? So what I would like to do is kind of introduce something that we may or may not want to go with. First of all, I don't like calling this an audit. Audits have that connotation that, you know, someone's looking into something because something's kind of shady or not being done right or whatever else. That is not what this is. You know, this is just, you know, somebody coming in, look at our systems, operations, the way we do things, and giving us from a non-biased point of view, an outside point of view, an idea of suggestions if we could be doing things better, to streamline things, to help things run more efficiently. And all they are is recommendations. There's nothing mandatory. You know, if we like some things, we can adopt those. If we don't, we can reject those. But I am of the firm belief that a occasional look by a third party cannot do any harm. Also, what I am proposing, this is not a financial audit. All right, as you know, I kind of go over budgets and numbers and spreadsheets and things like that pretty meticulously. We also have an independent third party yearly look at our finances. A firm called Mitchell, Emmert, and Hill. So we do have an independent firm looking at our finances, and I am firmly convinced, based upon my background and looking at our budgets, our balance sheets, that it's in excellent shape. One of the things I told Dr. Arnold when I was doing our evaluation, I hope you won't mind me sharing this, is that if I could give him a 5.5 rather than just a 5 on that segment of the orientation, I would. He's doing an excellent job. This elder and him work together very, very well. And so I have no concerns that way, personally. This would pretty much come in and look at, they would interview our administrators, find out how we do things here, all right? Make observations on what they think could maybe be done better, what could be, maybe some administrators are overloaded while others have, sometimes they could put just kind of even things out, or not. Give you an example. I worked prior to coming to Florida for a bank. That bank was considered, it was a small regional bank, it was a commercial bank, was considered to be the, you know, the best customer service, best operating bank in our region. And we walked around with our chest out, you know, we had people coming in, asking, whatever. However, I believe that was because every 5 years we had an independent company come in and look at our operations. What we found was, even though we thought we were doing things good and the best that they could possibly do, each year we saw, when we adopted some of these suggestions, we found a 15 to 20% improvement, customer service and efficiency, where we thought we couldn't do it any better. So I have no idea how much this is going to cost. I have no idea how long this would take, but I do think it's something that we would consider. We have a kind of a ace in the hole in that we have a lady in our district here who has some experience with this. And Ms. Kathy Villers, I'd like you to come up if you would.
Sure.
She's had experience with this. I'd ask her to introduce herself, give you some of her qualifications. And then we can go forward with this discussion. So, Ms. Villers?
Thanks very much. Am I alive? Great, thank you. And good evening to you all. Very nice to meet you. My name is Kathy Dillers, and I live at 2202 Arrowhead Drive, not too far from Doug. And so Jefferson County resident, now going on about 16 years. As far as my background, Doug and I had spoken earlier, and I said if you needed any help, just some insights on what I'll call operational reviews, process improvement, I've sort of lived that throughout my life. My background, and I've got an accounting degree, finance degree, but also an MBA, and some of my work experience included working at AT&T, where I headed up the area that not only did audits, but also operational reviews. And we would find instances of improvement of a few percent all the way up to significant percentages, oftentimes gaining insights from the people that work there. You know, this is taking me a long time, it's an effort, it's something tough to do. And really by looking at processes, you can often save snippets of time for repetitive tasks that add up to hours, days, even months of saving of time, efficiency. I also worked at Northwestern Mutual. Similar area, worked as a director there of projects, and oftentimes with a project coming in, it meant stepping back and saying, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? How could we improve this? Not just, replace the same old with the same. And so that really worked well. And then my third area or career where I worked was in consulting, where I helped companies, both private and public, work with process improvement. I can think back, just a quick example, we were looking at a company that had a very inefficient way of answering the telephone. Well-known sausage company, Johnsonville, up in the Midwest. And they found by looking at the process, by improving with a little bit of automation, they could literally save days of time, not only for employees, but for customers calling in, which meant more sales, more orders, everything such as that. So it was to the tune of about $1 million a year that they found that they could save. And Johnsonville is not a huge company, but it was a big, big amount of money that they could save. And it essentially funded the new technology in a year, paid for itself. So that was an example. As far as education, I've also had the opportunity to work in education, and please know I started, I've got over 40 years in education. I think I started when I was 5. That way the numbers look a little better, right, for age. But anyway, with 40 years in education, back up in the Midwest, I worked as an adjunct for the University of Wisconsin. So I've gotten to understand education, teaching, some of the processes that go in there. And then I'm also proud to say, once we move down here, I'm beginning my 16th year at Carson Newman as a part-time professor for them. So I bring to you also understanding education, great respect for teachers, the administration, everything that goes into teaching. So when it comes to operational reviews, kind of to cut to the chase, I'm a huge supporter of taking a look at processes periodically because it can just shed a new light on how things are being done. And it's not to say to anyone, oh, you're doing a bad job. It's more so to point out examples to people how a job could perhaps be done better. There's a couple of examples of process improvement, and one of the ones that's often commonly used, we've all, I'm sure, when we're in a hurry, had a sandwich instead of a big sit-down meal. And so for a sandwich company, they were looking at how do we make our sandwiches, and it was of all things, where did they have the pickles placed? Okay, and the pickles were actually across the kitchen. So every time someone wanted a sandwich that had a pickle, someone had to walk across, took a few seconds, walk back, and got the pickles and put them on the sandwich. Well, you might say, big deal, that only saved 5 or 6 seconds of time. But when you look at 1,000 sandwiches made a week, that saved 6,000 seconds. And when you started to look at how many minutes, that was 100 minutes a week, or an hour and 2/3. And when you started to add that up for the month, that was almost a day of time, just by where the pickles were placed. So it's an example that I like to use because everyone's had a sandwich. Some of you might like pickles, some not, but just illustrates. So again, I am more than happy to help the school board, no charge. If I can help point out what might be some of the wording, the things that would be looked at, and again, I'd echo Doug's comments, it's not an audit, not a financial audit. It is more an operational review, looking at how best to do things, and Doug did mention some of these that would include, workflow, making sure there wasn't redundancy, so lack of redundancy would be better. What are the better ways of perhaps doing things? Maybe balancing workloads. Some people might be busier than others. Looking at areas of strength, weakness, even looking at perhaps how can we most efficiently make decisions. So those would be some of the things, and again, not suggesting here how much it would cost or whatever, but that's what an RFP can help ferret out, look and see how much things would cost, and hopefully getting the right type of company or firm in to look at that and to work with the individuals and come out with a win-win.
Any questions or comments?
So this isn't really an efficiency audit, and I'm like, I don't want to refer to it as an audit, but it's not a true efficiency audit though. It's more of it's more of a operational type audit then, to kind of see where we could do better, correct? Because you're not including the financial side of things.
Well, it's not including the financial side or budget, but if there would be a situation, let's say that 5 people are doing the same task. What it might observe is, hey, we could centralize something and have one person be a primary. It might, as an example, even be your communications with the public. And so it could look at efficiency, how people do the job, but not how much are they being paid, do we have a good budget. That's been taken care of through the financial audit.
So would it be, I'm looking at, could it be, and I'm not saying that we are this way, but maybe we have money that we are using one way that maybe would be better spent another way. just show that we're doing things just, you know, really efficient that way? I mean, would it show stuff like that? I'm not actually looking at like, is there money being spent wrong? Just efficient.
May I interject something?
Yeah, that's-
We can make this into anything we want. All right, there is nothing set in stone. I think what we need to do is to authorize, and I will be proposing this at the upcoming meeting, Dr. Arnold to come up with a scope of work that will be brought back to us. We can then look at it, add to it, subtract to it, give us something to go forward, if it's the decision of this board that you want to. And, you know, only at that point do I think we'll know what we want the audit to be. Bill?
I can't see harm or letting somebody outside come in to tell Dr. Arnold what he needs to do. If we don't have enough confidence in him as a school director, and then we go out here and we hire somebody to come in here, I think this is out of order, Doug, that you had invited this lady before we ever discussed it. I don't see somebody come, you go to a school and you see a principal that's got an issue, what are you gonna do about it? It's left up to Dr. Arnold to make the decision in it. I don't think we need an outsider telling our school director what to do and who to, and how to save money. I mean, I don't see it anyway. I mean, it's just a issue that I don't see any use for it.
Yeah, I think this looks at, kind of like whenever we did a needs assessment for our county and we brought a firm in to look at, you know, we knew things that needed to be done, but this led us to a roofing plan that we ended up seeing that we're still doing 6 years later. And then it also has led us to Piedmont Elementary, Talbot Elementary, and soon the start of Jefferson Elementary. So along with a 5-year plan, it's given the board a pathway. You know, I can name you 6 things today that we can do better. But one problem is we're not Walmart. We're a government entity that we have to follow a lot of red tape. You know, for instance, whenever somebody wants to buy something, they have to complete a requisition. It has to be signed by a supervisor. Then it has to be signed by me. Then it has to be signed by Jesse. Then Jesse's office creates a PO that she signs, and then it comes back to me, and I have to sign the PO. And then that PO goes back to finance and issued to the person that wants to buy it. We can't change that process. That process is set in stone. So we have to follow that. So I think it just kind of gives just like whenever a principal goes into a teacher's classroom and evaluates that teacher and gives them recommendations, I think that's kind of what it is. You know, I don't feel threatened. I mean, I guarantee you there's not anybody in this agency that wants to come, that's going to do this audit, that wants to sit at that receptionist desk at a school and handle the things that they handle on a daily basis. From the kid vomiting, to the mama that's complaining, to the phone that's ringing, to the teacher that needs this, to the employee that didn't show up. You know, you take Rhonda over there that manages central office. I mean, you know, it's a huge role. They wear 20 hats a day within a school building. So there's a lot of things that go into play with a government agency and a school system. You know, it's just like my dad said, I never missed a day of work for being sick. I said, well, you didn't have to go to work and sit around 25 kids either. There's a big difference between having a headache and being in your office alone and having a headache around 25 kids. So it is a difference of school versus private entity. So we, you know, if this is something we pursue, we'd have to look for a firm that did have some experience within government entities
Exactly.
also.
But once the decision is made, who makes the final decision? Goes right back to you.
Right, yeah,
Right
I
back
mean,
to you,
yeah, the
regardless.
management,
Regardless of what she said has to be done, it has to
Yeah.
come back to you.
yeah.
So why go through another county?
That's the same thing, whenever that principal talks to that teacher, gives them ideas, recommendations. I mean, ultimately, that falls upon that teacher to implement those changes. So, we have to wade through those. That happens all the time. You know, we deal with the State Department. The State Department comes in and gives us ideas and suggestions and recommendations, and, you know, sometimes we do not follow what the State Department recommends. So, it's not best for our district.
Any other comments? Paul?
I actually think this is a good thing. If I'm a big corporation, a lot of employees, I'd like to think that, and I think anybody in charge would like to think they're running things as efficient as possible. You get a new set of eyes on something and say, you know, I think you could run it more efficient this way. You thought about doing it this way or something like that. Maybe you're responsible for the board, not at least look into this further and see where we can maybe fine tune it, make it run more efficient, smoother. You know, I don't think that this is something that's pointing the finger. It's something, I think we refer to it like, hey, you're doing this wrong. I think this is something that, you know, why would you not want to better something? You know, why would you not want to run something to the best optimal capabilities that it has? And I do think we run a pretty good, you know, I say we as a board, but, you know, the director runs a pretty tight ship and a really, pretty smooth. But I'd love to see where we could maybe improve things and take it to the next level. I don't look at this as a hit against the director or anybody in Central or teachers. You know, and I was only referring to the financial side. It wasn't the, you know, say where we're missing money. That stuff gets done already. This is, you know, where, you know, hey, we're spending money over here. Maybe we'd be more efficient if we were to move some over here or do something different. I mean, I'm open to ideas. I think that I don't want to be narrow-minded about this at all. I want to be, you know, I'd rather have somebody come in and say, man, you guys have the best run district in the world. Nothing I would change. But I know we don't need to make any changes. And I think that, you know, I would just think that all they would do is just suggest things. Now, whether we pursue that, that's up to us. But I don't think that that's something that that we should just bat away because we feel like it's going to be hit against us. You know, so I'd be for this.
Any other comments?
If I could just clarify
Please.
also,
Yes.
please, on the operational review, I would actually not be the person
No.
doing the review. So I was just sharing with Doug and would be happy to share with the members of the board what might be some ideas that could be put in an RFP to the appropriate type of firm and what kinds of things could be looked at. And I look at it almost as lifetime learning, and I respect senior management that really does say, yes, let's do something like this, because surely it can be continuous learning. One other short story, I always used to think I was a pretty good gardener up in Wisconsin, could grow a really nice vegetable crop. I came down here to Tennessee, I had a few things to learn. I did not know what time of year to plant, what would be the best vegetables to plant, how can I naturally prevent some pests coming in and eating up my zucchini, okay? And how did I learn? By asking others and getting input and ideas from those who really had a better know-how. And I thank them. We had a pretty good tomato crop last year, pretty good zucchini cucumber crop. Again, an analogy in layman's terms, but by learning, we all can improve at times our situation. And I thank the board for letting me come in and to share a few of my, ideas of my background, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Owens. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will move on. The communications coordinator. Again, let me kick this off. If you remember, one of the things that I mentioned in our last business meeting was that I was having constant complaints about our website and how difficult it was to navigate it and find things on it. And I brought that up at the 5-year meeting, our last 5-year meeting. By the way, that we're going to have a report on our meeting. When is it next? In March or in February?
On the 5-year,
On the meeting we had with the 5-year plan and report our findings.
in February.
February. Okay, so that will be forthcoming in February. And one of the things we have in the 5-year plan is we have two goals that this communications coordinator would, I think, help us meet, that we're not meeting at this point. Goal number 3, which is student support, and goal number 5, which is community partnerships. And what we found out, we spent more time talking about this than I thought we would. We found out that there are, and please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, there is nobody in our school board whose full-time job is to maintain the website or monitor communications, internal communications, external communications. All of it is done by people as a secondary responsibility. Kind of when they have time to do it, they get around to it. And if they don't get around to it, well, they don't get around to it. And again, it's not to criticize people, but people's main responsibility is their main responsibility, and that's their job, and that's what they're going to spend their time doing. That's what they should spend their time doing. So I think the time has come when we need to have a dedicated person, just like we have a dedicated human resource person, a dedicated primary care, primary education person, to gather, disseminate, and organize communications both internally and externally. I just feel that it's something that we need. I got the idea that the members of the committee felt the same way. Dr. Arnold said we could fund it, but we would not have to take any money out of fund balance. We could use monies already in our budget and switch them from positions that either we are not going to be filling to this, so there would not be any additional expense to the board or to the district. We wouldn't be adding really any administrative load because we would be taking away from other. I just think it's a good idea, and let me turn it over to Dr. Martin, and he can kind of explain what we talked about.
Yeah, so, whenever it was discussed, I reached out to some areas that had positions and came up, sent some information to Carol, and she kind of developed a job posting for you to have so that you'd have the information. But they're just looking at, within our local schools, we have a webmaster at each school. It's kind of like the teacher that coaches basketball. So that teacher or person is the webmaster. So they make the school website. We pay them a few $100s a year to do that. And then we have a person at the district level that manages those webmasters and those types of things, but that's not her full-time job. So it's kind of like having a school nurse who's also a classroom teacher. Basically is what it is. That nurse is not always available. Whenever you scratch your knee, you're just going to have to wait. So that's where we're at. So if it's the board's directive that things are, disseminated and covered, kind of like a newspaper does on a regular basis with regular articles and those type things of information sent out, you kind of have to put a person available full-time to do those duties. So, we just came up in there with job descriptions, talked about that they would assist with the website and calendars and talking to schools and getting the information together to put it all out there on a regular basis with that information. You know, I don't know if that person's available. I don't know, you know, if you approve that position, what we would find. You know, I don't know. I know that there's different areas of the state that have positions like this, and they've been filled by veteran teachers. Some of them have been filled by former news anchors, journalists. I mean, all kinds of things have been in place. You know, we always strive to do better, just like with our central office update that we put out and how that's growing and sharing that information. We've sent 2 of our employees to public information officer training to give them experience in various things that happen. You know, there's all kinds of people there from Eastman and Kingsport and police and fire and EMS and hazmat and trained people, and they're being able to manage these situations and learn how to get that information out to the public, and what to say, when to say, how to say it is always important. And it's just something that if the board chooses and wants that position, then it is something that we can fund. You know, we only have roughly 90 days of school left starting today. Obviously, we're not going to hire that position for a minimum 30 days if approved, and then who knows when they could start if they were hired. So it may be that it's July 1 before we even hire somebody if approved. So it's totally up to the board to consider that position.
Dr. Arnold, can I ask you, do you feel that this is a needed position?
I think it's up to the board. I mean, you have expressed, you have heard that people want information. We can only give them so much information with the amount of time that we have to work with. So, you know, it's the same thing. I'd like to have meat and 3 vegetables every night at home for dinner, but my wife works a full-time job also, so that doesn't happen. You know, she can't do that with 3 kids. So, nor can our employee that has a responsibility of management of a program and over $4 million also be able to manage. And like you talked about, website, but there's so many other things with social media, getting out. The thing is, you know, I read the newspaper. I also realize that there's not many people my age and younger that read the newspaper. Anything that's over 30, my boy, if it's over 15 seconds, he's not reading. So that's just a fact of life of young people and going forward. It's a challenge. So they want that information in a manner that they can see it or read it quickly or a video of it, those type of things.
Did you have a salary range or a beginning range in mind? Could you explain how you came to that?
Yeah, we looked at $65,000. That would be a beginning teacher's salary July 1st for 200 days of $50,000, and then this would be at 260 days, so that's $65,000 based on a beginning teacher's salary of $50,000 for 200 days. Is kind of how we came up with that salary.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much. That pretty much takes care of items for information. We're into director's input. Do we have any other director's
So,
input?
I think I've shared everything, you know, just under new business, there will be some, items for second reading under the policy committee meeting, and then we have some surplus, but other than that, we've discussed everything that's going to be on the new business.
So we'll move on to school commissioners' items for discussion. Anybody have any items for discussion?
Do we, how do we stand on the ag building?
Yes, so, that contract has been signed, and we are looking to proceed. That happened after Thanksgiving, so McSpadden, who won the bid, asked us if they could have some time to regroup, and we send them a notice to proceed around this time. So I have a call in to McSpadden. They'll call me back probably tomorrow and get a date for a notice to proceed. But they wanted to get on the project and move it straight through so that there's no start and stop. So they needed it to be the first of the year, and it's slated to be finished by the start of school next year, by August.
The road at Talbot.
Yes, the road at Talbot, you approved that. We have sent that to the architect to design. So they have to talk about elevations, various things, and then once that architect designs it, the Skanska will give us a price on it, and if it's within budget, we'll move forward on it. So it's been approved by the board. As long as it's within budget, we're give the okay to move that forward.
Any other questions?
Has there been update on the car rider drop-off canopy at West Strong?
That was that, we had the one at White Pine, the one at Rush Strong that went over $50,000.
We're bidding in our.
Yeah, we are bidding it out. They've been on site. I wanna say Austin told me that he is stupid because he scheduled the bid for a day off over Christmas break. So he had to, I'm pretty sure that's correct. He had to go down there on a day off, on a holiday for Christmas break. So I think they had the walkthrough. So whenever we place a bid, a lot of times we place a mandatory walkthrough. So anybody that's gonna bid on it has to come to the site, sign in, get documents, those sorts of things. So, that did hold us up a little bit on moving that project forward, having to bid it out. We didn't anticipate that. I didn't realize that White Pines PTO was doing something. I knew they had sent it through, been approved, but I didn't know the two projects were gonna hit simultaneously, and then the same company was doing both projects.
The ball's starting to roll on.
Oh, yeah, I'd say, so if
The
that
bid
happened,
opening's next week.
yeah, bid opens 2 weeks from that date, so it should be, Tuesday or Thursday, y'all do them? Usually.
I think it depends on Austin's schedule.
So it'll be middle, end of next week. and
Normally
then
Thursdays at
open the
2.
bid.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I do have two questions. I want to kind of fall back to the efficiency study. When was or has there ever been an efficiency study done? Anything like that? Do you know of?
Not what they're talking, not what this has been discussed, not to my knowledge, not in any recent time. There was a needs assessment done that looked at facilities, but not operational, no.
Wasn't that needs assessment when we went to all the schools and checked all of them out?
Mhm.
Yes, and you got that booklet, I'm gonna say that was, I wasn't here whenever that happened, so that had to be 2000.
2019.
Yeah, so just prior to me coming is whenever that was produced.
That was true.
Yeah.
But that was done through the board, not by an individual outside telling us where to go, wasn't it?
Well, no, it was done, the board approved it, they did a,
Those,
I believe it was a RFP was put out, and Lewis Group won the
Yeah.
RFP, and they did the work and produced the,
is that,
the study and the recommendations. And, you know, just like that, we took some of those and ran with it, and the other ones were like, we can't really do that.
So it's just a waste of time.
I think it gave us I look back on that needs assessment, so we have completed Piedmont, we've completed the roofs, we have completed a lot of security upgrades with the entrances at White Pine, New Market, Dandridge, Rush Strong to secure those facilities. And so just as this is being discussed, we currently do this type of thing with our security every year. So we have a representative from the Sheriff's Department, sometimes a representative from the state. We have a representative from Homeland Security that comes in and does walkthroughs with administrators, school personnel, Dr. Overton, and they go through those facilities every year, do checklists, and look at areas of improvement we can make to enhance the security of our schools. And that's done on a yearly basis. And from that, there's things that we can do. There's things, we had great intentions of having bollards placed in the entrance of Jefferson County High School and Patriot Academy. It just hasn't happened yet because of other issues, just like today, due to the death of someone's father, uncle, the flu. We have 5 maintenance people out today, so you know, every day you get behind, the work orders keep clicking.
And one other thing dealing with that too, with this, I guess it's really up to the board, but is this something that the efficiency study would be just overall, like just for the district, like in the different departments? Or, you know, I mean, would this look at also like, say, the maintenance and maybe how we're running things efficient and maybe spend?
we can make it whatever we want it to be. You know, I mean, there's nothing set in stone. I mean, when we get, as I say, I'm gonna propose that we authorize a scope of work. Dr. Arnold, who knows the district better than anybody, will come up with that, then we can look at it and add to it, subtract to it, modify it, agree to it, whatever. It's totally fluid at this point.
Yeah, it would take a lot more conversation. So basically, if the board did want to pursue this and pass something, you know, we would need conversation at a work session, at our board retreat, to get tons more information from me to be able to create an RFP that would match the scope of work that you desired as a board. So there are lots of things that can happen. For instance, if we centrally bought toilet paper and paper towels and had it delivered to one location rather than every school, we can save money on the toilet paper and paper towels. But then I also have to hire somebody to get the paper towels and the toilet paper to the schools. So, you know, sometimes it's a
Win-lose situation.
or sometimes you win a little bit of money saved on the product, but then you also, but how you use that person, you know, you gain another position, but then what can you utilize them for? So it's really in-depth conversation. It goes deep. I mean, it's not.
Well, I think considering that, at least for his lifetime, and sounds like anybody's remembering that we've never had one. I think that this is something we ought to, continually pursue to look at. I think it would be a good thing.
Any other comments? That's it.
Yeah, just want to remind you that, we are counting our substitutes, we're over 1,100 employees. 1,300 employees counting our substitutes. We're over $80 million budget. This is not we're not running a small scale,
Operation.
no. 1,300 employees, 7,000 students. This is big time business.
Any other comments? I have a couple just reminders. The joint meeting between the county commissioners and the school board is going to be held on Tuesday, January 13th at the Patriot Academy. So the agenda has been sent out. I believe you sent it out today or yesterday? Today. Yeah, so the agenda is there. Just remind everybody's welcome to be there.
What time is it?
6:30. Yeah, 6:30. And then the next policy committee will be at 5:30 before the work session of our February meeting.
January.
Yeah.
January 26th.
January 26th, yes, excuse me, January 26th. You need to have any policies that you'd like to have reviewed, add, change, omit. You need to have that wording to Rhonda by end of business on the 14th, or it will not be considered. Okay. Thank you. Any
Couple
other-
things.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, there's actually a maintenance committee meeting, I believe it's January 20th at 6 o'clock in Talbot. And I highly encourage everybody with the building going on over there, come by, and public's welcome. As well as all the.
I got a couple things on
Okay.
that. One thing is, do you want to modify the time? Consider that, because we won't be able to see anything out there.
Okay.
Second thing is, county commissions that day also, the 20th. I don't care. Because if you move it till, say, 4:30 or 5, that just means I have to go to 2 meetings. So,
Well, they have monthly meetings now, don't they?
oh yeah. Okay.
But we can do, I'm okay
No,
with
just consider that.
Yeah, I'm
You can
okay
get
with
back
that.
to us, we have time to modify it if you want to, so consider that. On record, I'll be in touch.
We need to check with county commission, make sure they are meeting that night.
They are.
They are.
They
They are,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it's at 6:30, isn't it?
For county commission, 5:30 is budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna have a maintenance committee in 20 minutes and then get up here, so.
No,
I'll
I
get up to
did
you
think
tomorrow.
about that. If they want to see anything, it'll have to be before
Yeah.
5:30. So if we had a 5:30 meeting and they wanted to get there to see anything prior to it.
So I'll get up with you and we'll see if there's a better date. Maybe after that.
Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you all for coming, and this meeting is adjourned.